Okay, so apologies for the lateness on this. I didn't get home until a couple of minutes ago. I've been at the Royals all day, and I just didn't have time to do it while I'm at an actual hockey game. So, the Penguins, most importantly, made some moves today. They made 2 trades. One's not that big. The other is a little bit interesting. Let's hop into both of them. Starting off with the more minor one, because I don't really have that many thoughts on it. The San Jose Sharks acquired Vincent Desharnais from the Penguins in exchange for a 2028 fifth-round pick. A little bit interesting. Again, I don't think that this is really that big of a trade. It's a defenseman who's likely, even on the Sharks, might be like a 6th or 7th defender, honestly. He's not in that big of a role there. It adds defensive depth. It adds another level of competition for those young players. So I don't really hate it from that perspective, but it still is a little bit interesting. I guess maybe for the Sharks, maybe this means that Mario Ferraro is going to get traded. I don't know. But, I mean, Desharnais can be a solid guy, good depth defender, not going to be that big on a Sharks team. But, hey, I don't really hate it from that perspective, to be honest. The other trade between Nashville and Pittsburgh really got some heads turning. The Nashville Predators acquired forward Michael Bunting and a 2026 fourth-round pick from the Penguins in exchange for defenseman Luke Schenn and forward Tommy Novak. This is very interesting in a sense that it came out of nowhere. Bunting, we heard his name out there on the market and, he might get traded, but to a contender. Not a team that is worse. And I thought that was a little bit weird, to be honest with you. But, yeah, I think that a lot of people are misunderstanding it because I kind of felt the same way, too. I think this is more or less a hockey trade. It's not like a trade deadline deal where you see, a player get traded to a team for picks. No, this is basically a hockey trade, more or less. You see these sometimes. You don't see them that often during the trade deadline, especially. These are 2 teams who are struggling, and they're exchanging guys with term. I believe Bunting has 1 more year left after this deal. I think Schenn does as well. And Novak, I think, has 2 more years left after this season. So, again, these are a lot of guys with term for sure. As for Nashville, I'll start off there. They got a guy in Bunting who's been a consistent scorer, but he has bounced around the league a lot. He hasn't really found a consistent home. I think he was in Arizona his first year. Then he was in Toronto for a year. Then he went to Carolina for a little bit. Then to Pittsburgh. And now he's on, I think his 5th team in the last, 5 years in Nashville. So he hasn't really found himself a legitimate home in his time in the NHL. Maybe Nashville will be that place. But I would not be surprised in the slightest if Nashville ends up flipping him anyways. And then as for the Penguins, they get Luke Schenn, who's a very solid defenseman. I feel like you could flip him again. You could flip Luke Schenn. That is incredibly possible. I have heard that rumor out there since the trade dropped. And I think overall, a guy like Schenn, again, good defenseman, there would be a couple of teams that would pay probably a 2nd-round pick, maybe even a 1st at this point. I've seen anything happen. If Gordon Bjorkstrand can get 2 firsts, I think almost anyone can get a 1st-round pick. So, yeah, honestly, Schenn wouldn't be a bad piece for a playoff team. And, again, I do like it, though. If we're looking at it in the long term for Pittsburgh, they get a defenseman who is very good defensively, and they don't have a lot of those. And then they also get Tommy Novak, too, who Novak, I don't really know a ton about. Again, I don't really watch the Predators as much as I probably should be. But for Novak, I think he's a very interesting case. He has 2 more years left on his deal. He's relatively young. He does have some potential, so maybe Pittsburgh can use that. And they want to get younger with that core around Sidney Crosby, and I think that, trading away a guy like Bunting, who I think is almost 26 at this point, which makes me feel, or probably older than that, actually. For a guy like Novak, who I think at most is 24, it's not a bad move. And honestly, I think these are just 2 trades by Pittsburgh that are really just, to get a few extra assets back, and maybe getting back a guy like Schenn and Novak, they will use that to flip him in a later on time. But again, there's obviously a little less than 30 hours until the trade deadline. So I think if we're going to see that, it would happen very soon, and he probably wouldn't even play a game for Pittsburgh. But yeah, let me know your thoughts in the comment section down below on this video, on these 2 trades. I know there's been a lot more stuff that has happened. We are going to be covering it in a jam-packed deadline review video on Friday. But let me know your thoughts down below. Thank you for watching. Hope you enjoyed. Make sure to like the video down below. And please do consider subscribing to join the community that we are building here. But anyways, that's it for me. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you guys in the next video.